we're going to think of the earth as a temple for just a moment. And if the earth is our temple, what should we do for it? Should we clean it up or make it messier? Should we destroy it or rebuild it? One more. Ugh, screeching. Oh my gosh. It's been a while since I played the native flute. This is one from I got at a store that unfortunately was destroyed during Hurricane Ian in Matlacha, Florida. I wonder how the owners are doing. Whew. To me, playing the flute is like a form of prayer. Or meditation, if you want to call it that. No, it's closer to prayer. You see, true prayer comes from your heart, not from a book. You can say the words from a book, but unless you're praying from the heart, you're just saying words. My background is Judaism. I grew up Jewish, and I learned in Jerusalem about prayer and the history of Judaism and spirituality from that point of view. And then I went to Standing Rock and I learned all about indigenous ways of prayer. And the history of Judaism is one of, questioning indigeneity. You see, the Torah is supposed to be a book that guides us, but it's also a storybook. Call it history, call it whatever you want. That's up for debate, but it's stories that are meant to guide us as a people and be a light unto the nation. And so many people use this book as their Old Testament in forms of Christianity, and in Islam it's recognized, and even non-Abrahamic religions, as they're called, can find some wisdom in this ancient scroll. So, yesterday, as of filming, was Tisha B'Av, which is a calendar date, which marks the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. And it's a somber day in Judaism, as you can imagine. Most holidays are holy days, and they're filled with lots of festivity and lots of fun and just like lots of activity on those days. But on Tisha B'Av, you're supposed to fast and you're supposed to sit and you're supposed to kind of commemorate. And this year, a lot of secular Jews, if you want to call them that, non-Orthodox in Israel, used it to mark the what they say is the destruction of democracy. I'm not going to get into all my political views here. I think what's going on in Israel politically is just so disheartening to me in so many levels, having lived there and having family there and having history there. And there's just so much to get into there that I'm not going to, because I'm here to talk about the environment. And politics is a big part of the environment, because our political leaders can don't want to say single-handedly, but can kind of guide whether or not we are going to survive as a species based off of the laws they pass, the grants and money they provide to organizations to get going or don't get going, the fossil fuel subsidies or lack of subsidies that we're pushing for. So yeah, so Tisha B'Av is that somber day, and if we think of the earth as being our temple, meaning it provides for us what we need, whether that be our spiritual sides or our physical needs, of course. You know, before there was a temple, there was, well, no temple. And people, in Judaism, you're not supposed to pray to things, to objects, right? And the more I learned about the temple and the culture around it, the more I realized that it had become kind of like, I don't want to say idolatry, but it had become a thing that people kind of worshipped. And instead of just going to it to find spirituality, as in that was the place that they did their praying, it became more than that. So back to Earth here. We're going to think of the earth as a temple for just a moment. And if the earth is our temple, what should we do for it? Should we clean it up or make it messier? Should we destroy it or rebuild it? Now, it's a fine line to think of any one ecosystem as a temple. But let's take the forest for an example for a moment. The forest provides for us. It has for thousands and thousands of years. The forest is a place where we can go to find ourselves, to find spirituality. And it's a place where we can go to find physical, tangible things, such as medicine. Lots of medicine comes from forests. There's a whole field of ethnobotany dedicated to finding plants that will give botanical that have components in them to help us. And we also get things like wood for building from trees. We get things like flutes. This is made almost purely from wood, a little bit of glue and this leather straps, but mostly this is from a tree. I believe this one's a cedar flute, so it's from a cedar tree, sacred to many traditions, not just North American Turtle Island tribes, but also in Judaism, the cedars of Lebanon are mentioned. So the forest provides for us. And I'll get into this more in another video, but coral reefs. I'm crying a little because coral reefs provide for something like 25% of the world's population is dependent on, a good portion of their diet is dependent on coral reefs for fish and for byproducts that come from these reefs, from products that come from these reefs. And that's just one little piece of the puzzle. Coral reefs provide so much in the way of protecting against storms. You see, they provide a shelf, right? So when a storm is coming, they'll stop it from the storm surge, from the water from coming. It'll actually slow the waves. So they're providing a barrier. Mangroves do this as well. They're found in different areas, or you have the coral reef and the mangrove. So if you have both, you're in really good shape. If you have neither and a big storm comes, you're in big trouble. But anyway, the coral reefs in Florida are in huge trouble right now. 101 degrees temperature, a buoy marked, and they're like, oh well, it's closer to the shore and it's in a seagrass bed. It's not really where the coral reefs are, but it's not very far away, and we don't. It's harder to measure exactly what the peak temperature was in the coral reef beds, but it's very, very high. It's nearing 100, if not that. So the coral reefs are in big trouble, not just in Florida, around the world. When temperatures get this hot, something called bleaching happens, which is exactly what it sounds like. They turn bleach white and just cease to exist. There's a great movie, I got to meet the director and watch one of the premieres of it at Doc NYC, called Chasing Coral, which in I want to say around 2014, 2015, they documented mass bleaching events around the world. And since then, it seemed like it had slowed down a little bit. I don't know if that was lack of coverage or the fact that all the coral reefs were bleached, but not all of them, but a lot of them were bleached. So I got to do a thing called Eyes on the Seagrass, which I'm working on another video about. And we went out and documented how the seagrass beds are doing. And if you don't think the seagrass beds provide for you, let me tell you something, you're wrong. Because seagrass sequesters just a massive, massive amount of carbon. It's the home for animals like seahorses, and manatees feed almost exclusively, basically, on seagrass. This hat I'm wearing comes from seagrass. So seagrass is this huge resource, and it's disappearing before my eyes, or away from our eyes, really, because people aren't documenting it as much as they could be. So the seagrass is in trouble, the coral reefs are in trouble, the forests are in trouble, but I really believe that the way to heal this planet is to first heal ourselves, to get in touch with nature, with Mother Nature. And to do that, we have to go to our temple. And let me tell you a quick story. When I was in Jerusalem in 2012, I think, I got to experience Tisha B'Av at the temple wall, at the Western Wall, which is was thought to be the last remaining outside wall of the temple in Jerusalem, on top of which a mosque is built, and there's churches around, and then there's yeshivas in the area now, and now they believe it's actually a retaining wall. So this great big wall wasn't even the outside wall, it was just one wall of many. And somehow the Romans managed to destroy it, which is kind of a crazy feat to think about. I don't know how I would push that thing over without using like giant cranes and wrecking balls, and even then it would be something to try to destroy, but we know something was there. Okay, you can say what you want about the Torah and Bible and all these stories being made up, but when you go there and you see these giant multiple thousands of year old rock walls, that the rocks are too big to lift with any kind of crane, a modern day crane, they're just massive. You have to ask yourself, like, what was there? It was something, and it was something spectacular. So the temple's destroyed, the point I was trying to make is that when on Tisha B'Av, you see these thousands and thousands of Jewish people, and most likely non-Jewish people as well, were gathered around the kotel, and they were in solemn prayer. They were crying their hearts out, and they were just mourning the loss of not this physical object so much, but the loss of what it meant, the loss of being a nation, a true nation, which a lot of us can relate to, I think. Even if our nationality is American or French or whatever, English, British, it's still, we can identify with losing touch with our roots as people. Anyway, I don't know exactly where I was going with that point, but we need to find a new temple, a new place of worship. And I think that place of worship can be anywhere. But it really needs to have that natural connection, that connection to Mother Earth. You see, I wrote an article about when the Notre Dame was destroyed, and I read an article that said they're not going to be able to rebuild it the same way because the giant oaks of which they built these great massive spires are no longer in existence. And that struck me, that this ancient technology can't be duplicated, not because we don't know how to build it, but because the building materials can't be found because they've all been destroyed. So maybe we need to not make these giant monuments out of our natural materials, but go to where the natural materials are. And that's how we'll begin to heal ourselves, by going to the nature, not bringing the nature to us, not making it work for us, but us, and I'll go one step further, us working towards restoring the natural balance. Restoring the natural balance and getting back in touch with Earth. That's what the film I made for your grandchildren, with the help of many, many other people, was all about. Getting back in touch with Mother Nature. And there was a lot of things that went around that. There was people getting arrested, myself included. There was protests. There was lawsuits. There was letter drives. All this stuff to try to stop this pipeline. But ultimately, the message I was trying to get across is we have to get in touch with Mother Nature. I don't know if that point got across. Some people I interviewed said it flat out. An indigenous leader of the Miccosukee tribe said we have to heal ourselves and get in touch with Mother Nature. And many indigenous people I interviewed said the balance is out of order with Mother Nature. So I'm gonna play a little tune. I don't know what it is. It will come to me, and I'll leave you with that, because yeah, I'm about talked out. I'm gonna stop talking and play the trees. Thank you.